Hello, I'm Ian Thomas. I'm the Managing Director of Pilot Financial Planning. We set the business up last year and we've been using Nucleus since the outset. Well, strangely enough, we didn't actually start by looking at the platforms at all. We, as a new business, obviously had to think a lot about what kind of services we wanted to offer and what our target client base was and so on and so forth. And really once we had an absolutely clear idea on that, it made it much easier then to go and start looking at the platforms and which ones were best able to help us deliver those services. Well, we used a range of sources actually. Our own research on some of the harder facts and some external companies helped us with that too, people like the Platform who were very helpful. And then there are softer factors as well, things like the culture of the business and their own objectives and the people there. And there was no substitute in that area for us actually meeting up with all of our shortlisted platforms. We started with a long list of platforms. There's over 20 in the market. We also looked at the FSA criteria that they've given us guidance, a sort of a general starting point. And we ran some initial filters, things like financial strength, whether each platform could deliver our investment proposition or not. These were sort of basic initial filters that if platforms didn't pass, they were rejected. And through those initial filters, we brought our long list down to a much shorter list that we could then properly look at. So aside from the initial hygiene factors, we actually found that several of our shortlisted platforms were all pretty competitive at a superficial level. So we really had to then look at each factor again, very specifically from the point of view of what we were looking for, what our clients were likely to be looking for. So for example, in terms of pricing, we built our own very detailed spreadsheet that could analyse various different scenarios, amounts of switching, different product mixes and so on that we were likely to encounter. Price was very important, not least because it's one of the easiest comparators when we're looking at the advice that we're giving. And I think going forward it may even become more important with more transparency post RDR. But as I've said previously, I think it's only one factor. It's clearly important to look at everything in the round. You know, if a business service suffers, if their product development suffers, or in the worst case scenario, if they even have to withdraw from the market because maybe they're too cheap, that's not in our client's best interest either. So value is probably a better measure if it were that easy. Probably the other point I would make is that the structure of the pricing, as much as the absolute level of the pricing was key to us. So we want to be very transparent, open with our clients, very simple, and the platform has to facilitate that. We particularly like platforms that have got agnostic pricing between different wrappers so that we can really focus on the financial planning first and foremost. Well, this was really important. Clearly we've got a lot of knowledge in our own heads and we feel like we've really researched the market thoroughly, but of course the regulator can't see that, and so it was essential for us to simply document the stages that we'd gone through, some of the analysis that we'd done, and we now have a fairly lengthy document that's sitting there for anybody to look at if they so choose. It also sits underneath our individual client suitability letters. Well, we've committed to reviewing our due diligence every 6 to 12 months. It could actually happen slightly more often if there are some specific market factors, and I think RDR and the repricing and repositioning of the supermarkets may well be one such occasion where we will start to look again at our due diligence fairly soon. Well, as I've mentioned, I think there are several platforms that we felt were very competitive, but given all the analysis we had run, we felt that Nucleus were likely to suit the widest range of our core clients. I think probably the other thing that was key was some of those softer factors I mentioned earlier. So things like the culture, the business objectives. Nucleus is committed to being a service provider for professional financial planning businesses, and that's exactly what we are. There are lots of other Nucleus users that share a similar vision, and I think that gives me a lot of confidence that the platform going forward, with all the uncertainty about how the market's going to develop, is likely to develop in the right direction because it's built for businesses like mine. Thank you.